So last night I'm at one of my buddies' houses. It's kind of a boys' night. We're smoking cigars, watching a little bit of television, solving all the world's problems. And he lets us know that he has a new neighbor. Well, really, his old neighbor has a new person living in their house. One of their relatives just got out of prison, a fella. Now, my buddy lives in a place way out in the middle of nowhere. Big houses, big lots. The family who lives next door to him, they're black, they have nice cars, the whole thing. But this guy just got out of prison.
It is a serious talk, and it is a talk that parents have to have, often and most often with their son, explaining, son, you may be stopped, you may be arrested, you may be chased, you may even be shot because of the color of your skin. Let's speak truth, that in our America, we have a lot to do to reform our criminal justice system. We must acknowledge where it has been informed by bias, and we must agree that it must be reformed, and we must agree that no child, in particular no young man of color, should be afraid for his life based on the color of his skin. Let's agree on that.
I asked him, do you have a gun? Do you have cameras? No. I said, because, if you were an actuary and you made a list of the 100 biggest threats to your life right now, it is that guy who just got out of prison, just moved in next door to you, looks at your house. He's going to be talking to his fellas about you and your house. His fellas are going to come over there and see you and your house. He is now in your life, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not. And this is what we see happen often.
His own house. You're supposed to be safe in your own house.
A victim robbed and beaten to death inside his Spanish Lake home. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Emily Pritchard. The victim's next door neighbor is now charged with that crime. Investigators say this man, Keith Hill, faces multiple charges in the death of his neighbor, Michael Shaw. This follows a 24-hour search for Hill that began Saturday just before noon. News 4's Emma Hogue is live in our newsroom with the details.
Emily, tonight we're learning this all started with an argument between the two men. Investigators say the victim, Michael Shaw, refused to give the suspect, Keith Hill, money. That's why Hill told police he beat him to death with a lamp.
It was a nice family-friendly neighborhood, and it was quiet and clean and safe.
But in the last 15 years, Carolyn Tolbert Fry says her block has drastically changed. The self-proclaimed neighborhood watchdog makes it her mission to meet everyone who moves in.
I introduced myself, and he introduced himself, and we sat there talking about the neighborhood.
A friendly conversation was the start of a friendship with Michael Shaw, who lived just a few houses down. But Fry had a different feeling about Shaw's next-door neighbor, this man, Keith Hill.
It was what I call a strained relationship, because I could stand in my window and see Keith going over to Michael's house. And it was like Michael didn't want him there.
Saturday, investigators say Hill forced his way into Shaw's home before beating him to death with a lamp. Police say he confessed to stealing cash, credit cards, and leaving in Shaw's car. Hill later told investigators he was upset when Shaw refused to give him money.
I was just really horrified.
Hill was arrested Sunday following an overnight search. Neighbors say they couldn't leave their homes for hours.
They wouldn't let nobody leave or come in.
You don't expect your neighbors to come and rob you and beat you to death.
Fry recalls Hill asking her for money last year, saying he was unemployed and willing to help with yard work.
It just didn't feel right to me.
A death that's left her questioning how well she knows her neighbors.
Mike was such a nice man, and nobody really deserves that.
I don't want to be the nervous Nelly at any gathering, constantly reminding people that their life is about to end because of some thug gonna bonk them over the head.
Please, sir. I want some more.
But at the same time, we've seen too many videos here, too many fellas sitting around a kitchen table talking about somebody who just robbed somebody who just got into a house and got some guns and money and drugs. And then somebody else says, yeah, I cut the lawn there, or yeah, my mom works there, Or, yeah, that guy's my neighbor, and you ought to see his place. Because to the fellas, you can have a modest middle-class place, and they can look at it and think you're living in the Hearst Castle. And then you become a target. Then bad things happen to you. Then all of a sudden, your stories in the television stations of St. Louis, and nobody can explain what happened to you, except somehow you probably made the black kids angry.